Well, Adrienne, I'm going to start off asking about your habits. We all have our habits, but I really enjoy hearing, like, what are your favorite ones? Like, what are the pillars? If you got to rely on one, it's a rush day, the things that you're not going to miss for the most part to make sure that you get out of yourself what you need to do. So what are the top rung habits and routines that you have?
Number one,
Yep.
breathing. Breathing,
Okay.
breathing, deep breathing.
Deep breathing.
It all started because I used to always get told, somebody who was a trained overthinker from probably birth. You can obsess over how to make life the way you want it to look. You're just like, how is this going to happen? And when am I going to do this? And I'm not doing enough. And I remember getting told quite frequently by people who would mentor me and coach me is, Adrienne, just breathe. Just take a breath, breathe. And at one point, I remember having a conversation with a woman who I'm still in touch with. In fact, I'll talk to her in about 45 minutes here. She would say, Adrienne, just take a breath. Stay in your bubble. And what she meant was don't try to deal with anything outside of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that particular day was frustrated about things not going the way that I wanted in my career. I actually posted a video about this on Instagram, and I heard her say, just breathe. And I wanted to throw the phone. I'm like, how are you going to tell me just to breathe? And so I hung the phone up. I said, okay. And I didn't get mad at her, but I hung the phone up. And I'm sitting in my car and I remember feeling just completely out of control. And the thought occurred to me, how can I really be grateful for all these wonderful things that I want to have happen in my life if I can't be grateful for the breath?
Yeah.
That breath, that power, that force of life coming through me, channeling through me, that allows me to do anything I was really, in essence, despising because I wasn't grateful for it the way that I was grateful for the opportunity that hadn't come yet.
Yeah.
So when I took a deep breath, I took a breath with the knowledge or the realization that this was life. Thank you for this little, what seems little, breath that is going to fuel me so that I can achieve my next goal or my next step in life. And when I breathe, I'm doing
do you
that.
do that in like an intentional, like a meditative aspect, or is it just
Mm-hmm.
yeah? Okay.
No, it's very much like breathing in and out and really deeply so that I'm conscious of what's happening and just thank you. Like, thank you for breath. Like, thankful that there's something to keep my heart moving right now, because if I stopped breathing, I couldn't have what I'm trying so hard to attain. So it's like, it's like if your child, says, Mommy, Daddy, I want to go to the mall. And you say, okay, but first we have to eat breakfast. It's really important that you have breakfast. And your wife or you makes this wonderful, healthy breakfast for him. And he says, I don't want that. No, that's disgusting. And pushes the plate away or throws it on the floor or gives it to the dog and basically tells you, I don't want what you did for me. I don't want what you prepared for me. I don't want your care for me. I just want to go to the mall, And you would probably be a little annoyed with that kid and be like, you know what? I don't really feel like taking you to the mall right now. Yeah. And I think of myself being that like kid that needs to be reminded, like, be thankful for the breath. And then you get to go to the party. Be thankful for the breath. And then you get to accomplish this amazing goal. Be thankful for the breath. And then you get to reach this financial goal, and stop being so driven that you forget that you have life right now. You're gifted. Especially right now with all that's going on in the world, where people's breath has been ripped off of them, but people's breath has been stolen. How dare I not take a moment to breathe? So that's number one. I'm glad we got through number one finally. Yeah.
Great.
But that's the truth. And then walking, I love walking. New York is a walking city for sure. I've learned that if I don't get out and move, I wish that I was one of those people who did all the Zoom yoga and Zoom CrossFit and Zoom dance classes. I really wish I was that person, but that is not me. My yoga mat is nowhere to be found. So I get out and get a nice walk in. Yeah. And I've learned to listen to music while I walk so that I can drown out the construction sounds and the sirens. Yeah. And I center myself in that. It just really helps me. But reading is also another habit that I have. And I said breathing already. And writing is a major habit. I mean, it's not about being a goal. Writing for me is like art.
Yeah.
It's like painting, which I do like art, and I've painted and drawn since I was 2. But if you don't have some type of creative expression, to me, you're not really living. So I have to
You
write.
you mentioned well, thank you. Otherwise, we wouldn't have your book. So I'm grateful that you write
Right.
sometimes with a goal. I'm grateful for that. In our first show together, you talked about out of the context was something else, but about you're not a fan of the lifting weights and the workout. So you walk for your physical wellness. What are the things? Do you normally, outside of COVID, do you normally do classes, or what's your outlet
I
there?
joined a gym and then the gym closed. I joined the gym in December and then it closed in March. And it was really a struggle to like to me having a gym, and running. What I would normally do is run on the treadmill for about 20 to 30 minutes and then I do about 20 minutes of weights.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. I've done Pilates, but really I am grateful for a high metabolism,
Uh-huh.
and I definitely want to step it up like in the fitness arena more this year. So those are habits that I am endeavoring to include more and more. But right now with the gym closed, a good healthy walk and some stretching at the park, and
Yeah.
hopefully the chiropractor opens soon, because that's a big habit that I keep, to always go to the chiropractor that I
Yeah.
can't go to right now.
Yeah. How about nutritionally? Any specific guidelines there? You say you have a high metabolism, so do you just eat whatever?
I was raised with a mom who was very conscious of sugar. And
Mm,
so she would really be mindful of how much sugar we were consuming. And we didn't eat a lot of sugar. We didn't eat any red meat growing up.
yeah.
But I learned to grow as I was an adult that steak was something that I really enjoyed. So it actually works well with my body.
Mm,
I think you have to find out, there are things that our parents give us that we need to build on, or sometimes change as we get older. But she was very much about no butter, like using like pureed fruit in replacement of like fat in baking and muffins and things like that. So I really am grateful for my mom, because she was so aware of like eating enough fruits and vegetables every single day and making a lot of homemade foods. And so I do not cook as much as my mother did at
mhm.
all. I eat a lot of prepared foods, but I've always been really conscious about the foundation that she laid in eating enough greens, enough fruits. And if I'm going to enjoy something like heavy or like rich, I have to do it in moderation. I mean, I went to France to cover the Women's World Cup.
Oh,
And I found out very quickly that while I really like butter and bread,
yeah.
it is different butter and bread in France. And foie gras and escargot and all those rich French onion soup, you should not have all of them together in the same 24 to 48-hour period.
Yeah.
So yes, discipline is
Okay.
good.
Yeah. Adrienne, you talked in the first show together, and you have now, about your mother and the influence that she had on you. I must have missed it in the book if you had it in there, but you mentioned in the first show that you were adopted.
No,
I
no, no,
no.
no, no. I said I was adopted by Texas.
Right.
So meaning
Okay.
that Texans, like, they have embraced me, and I'm so grateful. A lot of times people will contact me and say, wait a minute, you're from Texas. Cause I'll say my hometown of Sacramento. No, no, no. I'm not adopted. I
Got
am
it.
not
Got it.
adopted
Got it. Got it.
physically in a family. I am adopted by the entire DFW
Okay.
Metroplex.
Okay, because I was going to say I missed that. I was going to ask about that. When you look at the healthy habits, the healthy routines that you do or want to do, which is, and maybe you already talked about it some with the exercise, but which would you say is the one that you continue to do or try to, but is the most challenging in there? Whether it's physical or spiritual or relationship, anything. Where's the one that is because you got everybody's got the ones that they love that are easy. For me, working out, yeah, I'm one of those freaks. I actually like it, but I
Yeah,
have others that are a challenge. What are challenging for you?
it would be working out.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I actually started saying that I like working out and
Yeah.
I want to work out so that I'll work out, because when you say you don't want to do something, you just won't do it.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't want to, I'd rather sit there and dance for 30 minutes or
Hmm.
45 minutes or an hour than
Yeah.
run. I'd rather walk, because then I can see things and stop and take photos and have a
Yeah.
nice picnic lunch. Like, I want it to be this experiential thing. But I can also go into the gym and run at a pretty good clip on a treadmill, and people would be like, oh, okay, you're in shape, you're good.
Yeah.
So I'm
You,
grateful.
you, in our first show together, you talked about, well, you referenced me. I was talking about my wife. I've got a lot of kids, and that you have, and what a gift that is what you
Yeah.
said ultimately. And you've chosen a different path, and you are so involved with so many people and so many relationships. So let me ask that. What are the things, the habits, routines that you employ to have the relational connections and health that you want?
Well, first of all, mentoring is such a big part. And I talked about mentoring in our previous conversation,
Yeah.
and I've been mentored for so long, and I've mentored people for so long that
Mm.
I have regular mentoring meetings every week. It's kept me sane, I like to say, because whenever you're investing in other people, that kindness, I talk about it in one of the chapters, I think it's chapter 10, it keeps you consistently giving, consistently thinking of other people,
Mm.
consistently seeing yourself as the answer, even if your life is filled with problems. And so to me, I would not even think, just like you would not think of working out less,
Yeah.
I would not think of diminishing mentoring in my life. It's just something that I'm constantly drawn to, investing in other people and sharing the knowledge that I've been given with them, because I want to give people the answers that I've been given so that they know what to do, because now I know what to do at a greater
Yeah.
way. So that's a huge part. In fact, I started moderating a group inside of my company where I employ some of the mentoring and the aspects of getting people to think differently, because you can't necessarily always tell somebody what to do, right? You
Yeah.
want to get them to think of it as their idea.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about asking questions and putting forth thought-provoking concepts so that they come to their own conclusion. But also my girlfriends, like I live on the East Coast and most of my friends live in Texas or in California.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made it a rule back in 2018 that I had to travel back west every month. And so even with all of my global travel, even with traveling all over the world in the past 2 years, I was able to keep up with that and travel to Sacramento to see my family, Los Angeles, and Dallas Fort Worth 1 to 3 months, every 1 to 3
Wow.
months. It's a lot
You
of travel.
That's a lot of travel. That's a lot. When you talk about mentoring, I want to know in what you mentioned it. You said you had a group at work, but yeah, in what capacity? I mean, you can mentor in a lot of things, but who is there a certain demographic of person that you enjoy mentoring in a certain way? Or are you doing it across the board wherever it comes up?
Well, I think that because I am a woman, I tend to have a lot of women who want to be mentored. You know what I mean?
Sure,
But I
sure.
have mentored men too. I think that it's important to have people who just are desirous enough. You know,
Yeah.
they want to change, and so it's usually a lot of people in the beginning. It was people who wanted to get into the broadcasting or media world, and so I would give them my advice and my perspective and my tips. There was one gentleman that I coached in voice consulting. Like I talked to him about his voice. Um, it really was about him connecting with people more from a place of trust,
Hmm.
that he trusted his voice and that other people could trust his voice and him telling their stories.
Yeah.
But for people inside the companies, I mean, like before I ever had any formalized group, people would come to me and ask me for advice. They'd stop by my office. They'd send me an email. They'd ask me for time. They'd call me. And so I think that might be the result of being coached so deeply and mentored so much. And also the fact that I'm the oldest of 7 kids. And I just inherently have this, okay, let me show you guys what I did. And here's how you make, taco salad. And let's go over the recipe so you can do it
Yeah.
when I'm not here.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. That clip my family will hear. I have 7 biological kids, and then and a couple adopted. And every
Whoa.
Friday is taco salad night. So
Oh my gosh.
you just resonated with the whole
The
crew,
whole clan.
the whole clan right there. You've mentioned coaching over and over again,
Yeah.
and in that aspect of your own. Tell me about that. What you do, what you have generally done, what you're doing even now, just to grow and progress in your life, in your career, personal, professional, either way. Share it with us.
I think that, I mean, I could give you a whole long list. We don't have probably time for that. But my biggest gift or takeaway that I would tell somebody in terms of what I need to be coached and how I need to develop and what I do with other people is an openness to include other people in a dream. I think that and I can't speak for, every city in America, every town, but when you go to college, you have this idea of what you're going to do after college, but it always stems from a place of, this is my dream. This is what I'm going to do. And I don't know that anybody pulled me aside and said, hey, I just want to let you know, there's going to be a lot of people involved in your dream. And your dream is going to require partnership. And your dream is going to require other people being kind to you, not just you being great at what you do. And so for me, I think that learning the lesson that your tomorrow or your future lies in the hands of a lot of people who are willing to invest with you and be kind to you and adopt the dream like it's their own. I mean, maybe it's just a handful of people. Maybe it's just one person. But my mom would tell me back in the day, this poem by John Donne, No Man is an Island. You know, I mean, she would constantly say that. And she's from a big family too. So it's just a shift in our thinking that we can't do this on our own. And I've needed coaching. And as I've been more open to having people invest with me, I've gotten a lot more accomplished. You know, again, like I said, I didn't think of the kindness book. It wasn't even on my radar. And I worked on it all the time intentionally to be kind, but I wasn't thinking I should write a book about this. No, I was thinking I need to be kinder. What can I do to be kinder? But you don't always know how much of an expert you are until somebody asks you to write a book on it. And that's why I was willing to be coached in that. And see what we've got now? Somebody who read my book.
And I'm curious in that you were encouraged to do that, advocated to do this book. So now you've done that. Is that just an island unto itself, or is this a direction you're going to continue with authoring, with messages, with this desire to influence?
Well, I already am starting on my other book, so this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning.
Is that still under wraps?
Yeah, because it's so in progress. But okay. I mean, second, third, and fourth books already like mapped out.
Beautiful.
I don't have any end to kindness. When I wrote it 2 years ago, kindness was popping up, but now if you look around, there's a lot more kindness, you know, and people who desire. And even when you hear people talk now, it's like, the one thing I want for my kids, you even said it yourself, yeah. I think. I heard Kim Kardashian say it in a video the other day, and then I heard somebody else say it, and I was like, oh my goodness, all I want is for my kids to be kind. You know, I really, more than anything, I want them to be kind. I also want them to be this, this, and this. And so, you know, for me, I don't think it's going anywhere. Yeah. So neither am I.
Good. A reason to have you back on the show. I want to hit a couple more things on your habits. What do you do that's just for you? Just fun, just play. Doesn't have to, you talked about writing without having to have a goal in mind. What are the things that you do that just, even call it self-care, the things that you do just for Adrienne?
Well, I'm glad you brought up that term, because I actually don't believe there's any such thing as, I call self-care community care, because my theory is if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to take it out on other people.
That's beautiful, actually.
Yeah. I mean, if I don't invest in me and give myself a fighting chance and give myself a chance to breathe, then somebody's going to pay the price for that with my cranky attitude later. So I have learned that it's really a community effort that we all allow ourselves that space and time.
Yeah.
Before this, you know, the crisis of 2020 happened, I had this rule that I had to go on some type of tropical getaway at least once a year, preferably twice.
Yep.
And thankfully, I did have a trip right before this all happened. So I could say.
Where'd you go?
I was in Florida, so I could call that tropical to some degree. But for me, I love traveling. You know, I'm grateful that I'm made for hotel industry, made for the airline industry with my job, you know, having to pull me on a plane. But I needed a trip, and I still need trips that are just for pleasure or for fun. Yeah. It can't just be all work. Even though I make every work trip fun, it's not the same because you're on call like a nurse.
I love the term. Matter of fact, I'm gonna gently share that with my wife. She knows it, but you know, it's with all the kids. It's so easy to just keep investing, but that if you don't take self-care is community care. That's just a great line. If you don't take care of yourself, you're going to take it out on other people. It's good for me it's always a good reminder for me as well. So here's one I like. As much as I am an advocate of health and wellness and good habits too, I also know that I am an appetite driven person. I think most people are. And I have to have those outlets. Now I try to elevate. I did a show recently on elevating your appetite, maybe get a little healthier quality thing to fulfill that appetite. But I like vices. I have mine. I know them. I love them. Now they're, uh,
He said, I love my vices. Okay.
I do. I'm so grateful to look forward to those certain things. So what about for you? Any indulgences or vices that you enjoy?
There is one of my very dear friends lives in what I call a little slice of heaven in Northern California. It's a place in between Sacramento and Tahoe called
Mhm.
Apple Hill. It's Camino, California. And Apple Hill is a cooperative of growers of Christmas trees and wineries and pumpkin patches. And there's this place where you can buy apple pie, like every kind of apple pie you could think of is right there. And they sell apple cider and apple honey and apples on with caramel on them and all that stuff. I skip all the apples. It's called Apple Hill. I skip all the apples and I go to this place, one of the farms that sells fresh blackberry sour cream pie.
Oh,
And it is literally like you took your ice cream on top of a blackberry cobbler and you baked the ice cream into it. It's so rich. It's so decadent. My friends would go to Apple Hill and I'll buy apple pies. And I'm like, okay, y'all have fun. I'm going to get my blackberry pie.
uh-huh.
They didn't believe me. And then they finally were like, where did you get this pie? And it's one of the best things. In fact, this past winter, I bought them out. I think they had like 16 pies left. And I said, give me all of them. And so they were like, okay, you got the last one. So now whenever I go back, I'm like, my friends have them in their freezers. Like I was like, you guys store them because, you can have some. They're like, can we bake one of your pies right now? I said, sure. I'm like, just save me one. That's all I need.
I love pie. God bless pie.
If you ever go to Apple Hill, you have to get a blackberry sour cream pie.
Okay, it sounds right up my alley. In your mentoring, one last one for you, Adrienne. In your mentoring, if you have somebody who is not, they have to be pursuing your line of work, but is really pursuing their own personal and professional success and achievement and growth. When you look, thinking of this term, this aspect of good habits and good routines, with kindness having to be at the top of the list there.
Yeah.
Not to give it, it doesn't have to be a 1, 3, a top, but if there was just a handful, just these, don't violate these, please partake of these. If it was a top 3 or something like that, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
Besides kindness?
Along with it. Yeah. Along with it. Sure.
Okay. Like give me a little bit more. So for me, like what I always tell people is like, if you say, Adrienne, what do you stand for? It's like kindness, connection, and realness. Those are my 3.
Okay. I didn't hear that before. Okay. Got it.
Well, I didn't say it before, so it's okay.
Say it again. Say it again. Kindness,
connection, and realness or authenticity.
Yeah.
Like when people say to you, you're so real. I love that about you. You're so real. That's like about the best compliment you can give somebody. Because how do you quantify that? How do you quantify? I mean, who doesn't want anything but to be real? I don't want to be a little bit fake. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh,
So those are my 3 things that if I could impart them to anybody, and if I want to maximize what I already have, it's kindness, connection, and realness.
You have been kind, and I appreciate the connection here, and you are incredibly real. That's so grateful. Yeah, we'll have fun. We did last night as the family. We were watching something that got us into watching bloopers. We were watching, Jumanji and some of those. But we do a lot of that, watching TED Talks and whatnot. I'm going to pull up some of your interviews and talk on the aspect of kindness with my family. So they can see what I feel like, again, is just the fruit of your kindness, connection, realness that we get to see in your work. No wonder you're at the place that you are. So just thank you. It's been a gift.
Well, thank you for the gift of allowing me on. I appreciate it.
My honor.